Welcome. We were dealing with this particular course series, ChatGPT and other awesome AI tools. And we decided that we will divide our course according to the domain. We took the domain of healthcare and now we are taking the domain of data science. Now, in this data science domain, here we are talking about ETL, extract, transform, load. This part of data science life cycle. Of course, we have done some discussion about some advanced techniques which can make this entire ETL redundant or present a completely new way of doing it. But then we came back to our original track and we saw that normally as data transformation or loading is done in small organizations using SQL, Excel. We did not take example of MySQL, but we will take a very detailed discussion that ChatGPT does quite well, even with MySQL database also. So many people may get that question that okay, but in large organization where ETL is done usually in the form of creating an entire ETL pipeline on some platforms, maybe Databricks or some other similar platform. Is it possible to use ChatGPT to create entire this kind of pipeline? So this question, let us try to explore. Of course, I will just ask ChatGPT and we will just see the response which it has given. Will not actually make a login into an Azure or Databricks or that type of platform, create account. Many of those processes will require a credit card, which everybody may not be having. So, of course, in a paid course, I have included that whole process. So we will actually see whether this pipeline which ChatGPT claims works or not. But those who have little bit of experience, as soon as they see the code, they will immediately understand that okay, this code will require some uh, changes here and there, but uh, around 70% of the labor is saved even in this case. Also, my experience suggested that with Azure based platforms, the answers given by ChatGPT were a little bit more accurate compared to maybe GCP or compared to maybe AWS. Now that has to do with something that it might have been trained, that is ChatGPT might have been trained more on Azure specific uh, documentation. But this is as I say. But the latest news also I want to give that much more advanced tech than this is the Microsoft Code Interpreter plugin, which is now available to all ChatGPT Plus subscribers. So those who have given that $20 per month subscription, they can even do this whole process quite faster. And for them, I have not evaluated on other platform. Now, what is this ETL? ETL, as I said, is extract. So you have to extract the data from some local database or remote database or maybe by web scraping, then perform data quality checks, validation checks. Sometimes in same data set, dates may be expressed in different manner. So you have to express ensure that in same column all dates are in same manner. Sometimes there is time zone issue, so that issue has to be solved like that. Okay, then next stage comes, first is fetching the data, next stage comes is data pre-processing. Okay, now there you have to transform the data and process the data to make the data usable, and then data post processing, and then the finally processed and ready to do further steps, that is exploratory data analysis, EDA. That data is loaded. Okay, so that is why the name is ETL. Fine, let us see that we will try to, we can, whether we can generate the code. As I said, we will not execute it in a cloud platform because I want to save my learners free trial for the paid course. Okay, they give, various cloud platform gives, when you make an account they give a $100, $200, depending upon individual policy, credit to you, so you can learn on their cloud platform, but credit card is required for that, so we are not going into that. Okay, now let's go to ChatGPT interface, and here I have asked the question. Now the key of whether or not the answer given by ChatGPT is useful or not is in prompt. So for creating a pipeline, I give a prompt like this. As a data engineer, so this is assigning the role. I want you to build ETL pipeline, that is assigning some definite task with Databricks and PySpark. Okay, so this is giving context. Okay, further context, which technology you want to use. So I'm saying Databricks, PySpark, Azure. Where is the file located? So it is ADLS Gen 2. What is the format of the file? CSV. Now, normally we take it for granted that CSV means there is, what is the need to specify the delimiter, because CSV itself means comma separated values. But for ChatGPT, you should treat it as it as if it does not know anything and try to give as much information as possible. So I'm giving file delimiter, comma file header. Now that is a kind of in simple language, the names of the columns: employee ID, employee name, employee DA, employee basic, employee CT, employee joining date. Of course, this is a very simple case which we are dealing with. Then ingestion method, PySpark in batch pattern and real-time pattern. Output, which form you want output. I want output in the format of Databricks Delta, which is their own output format. Additional information, I am saying that during the transformation process, you also create a new column, total employee salary, which is the sum of these two columns, employee DA and employee basic. So we are doing some basic feature engineering also. Okay, creating a new column from two columns. Fine, and it gave these answers. Sure, I can help you with it for creating ETL pipeline. Here is the example of how you can create pipeline according to the requirement which we specified. Then it just gave me this. First, you need to set up your database environment and create a cluster. So I went down to the next prompt and said thanks for previous answer, and then said, can you explain how to set up Databricks environment and create a cluster? So that means I'm behaving as if I don't know anything. Okay, so imagine that new intern has come in your firm, and all your staff is already overburdened with their routine work. Who will train that intern? So if that intern has the ability to learn himself, then you can use ChatGPT as a trainer. It is giving that sign into Azure portal. It gives the web address also using Azure account. Then in the Azure portal, create a resource, search for Azure Databricks, select Azure Databricks, create to begin the Databrick workspace creation process. In that as a Azure Databricks creation page, provide following name, workspace name, subscription, resource group, location, pricing, tier, everything it has given. And after providing detail, click on review and create, wait for the deployment to complete. And once the deployment is finished, go to Azure portal and navigate to your Databricks workspace and so on. Ultimately, you can see that actually, also it gives a caveat that these steps are general guidelines. The actual steps may vary slightly because the portals keep on updating the process. But now, congratulations, you have successfully set up Databricks environment and created a cluster. Now, once the cluster is created, then you can create notebook and then write PySpark code, then execute those codes. What was the code that it had already answered, but it assumed that I already know how to set up the Databricks environment and create a cluster. As I don't know, suppose, then I asked it and it gives the answer. So now I have created, suppose, then I can start using this code. The code also it nicely explains step by step. Remember, I did not tell it to explain step by step in prompt, but it knows that this stepwise process. So it is better to explain this way. So set up the configuration and initialize the Spark session. Here it imports library and Spark session is initialized. Then read the CSV file from ADSL Gen 2. Of course, here I have to give my storage account name and I think my container name also and the actual path to file. But that everybody at least knows that much that this much change one has to make. Then the rest of the things I don't think I will have to change anything provided I have given the prompt properly. Yes, nothing is required to be changed. Now perform required transformations to add total employee salary. We told it that add DA and basic to give total salary. So first it gives a new column. Now here is the importance of that ChatGPT. That suppose somebody is very familiar with SQL but has lost some touch with this PySpark SQL, and it has slightly different syntax. Now, how to create a new column? So that is what it is. It is giving. Then, so this is a data transformation. We are creating one column new from two old columns. Okay, and then transformed data is saved to the Databricks table. This is the output path. Again, you can change it if you require to suit whatever is your output path. And then step 5 is optional. If you want to read the data, you can choose this code and read the data. Okay. So that is it. You have created an ETL pipeline using such a step. Okay. Now, then this is for batch processing, the above. Now here it is also giving. So again in the prompt, because I did not clarify whether I want to do batch processing or real-time streaming, it gave both choices. So for streaming data, it's told me to do this thing, this code. Now I'm not going into each code because it is not much different, but only this last part would be different. Okay, streaming. So yeah, this, and in streaming it also gives this warning that remember to stop the streaming query, otherwise you can go on incurring the charges also. So that is what it is. And since I got the code first, but I did not know how. It just told me how to set up the environment and create the cluster. So I asked it how to set up the environment and create the cluster, and it gave all this stepwise manner. So isn't this amazing? Now, say that means again what we saw at the top at the beginning of the course, that I'm not saying that data engineers will be completely replaced by ChatGPT or similar code interpreter immediately, but if employer has a choice between one data engineer who is not familiar with AI tools and other data engineer who is also familiar with AI tools, then he will choose the person who is familiar with AI tools, because he will be able to deliver the results quite fast, and speed is important in business. Thank you.